Good start. Howie Roseman might be the only person in the world to sleep less or have a more dysfunctional sleep pattern than I do. And that's saying something. I thought today I could have a day off, somewhat like the dust has settled. The Eagles have had their opening free agency waving. I can just step away for a few hours and do whatever. And then my phone starts blowing up and I see the Eagles have made a trade. And I've traded a third-round pick. And it's for a quarterback. And the quarterback is Kenny Pickett. Now, immediately, that caused plenty of disarray and confusion. The fan base, it went down like a cup of cold vomit, if we're being honest. It did not sit well whatsoever. But with that said, once it sat, once it marinated, I think this is a good move. And we're going to get into that during this stream. If you're joining, everyone, happy Friday. It's a hell of a start. Hell of a start. We're on to a Friday stream. Been a chaotic week of free agency. Thank you all for hanging out throughout the week. I know we've had a ton of content from Phillium to Flipping the Birds to myself. We've been grinding stuff out here at PSN. So thank you all for just taking the time, hanging out with us and sharing your opinions. If you want to tap your opinions in, make sure to head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Philly Sports Network. Leave a like on the video. Make sure you just drop all your comments in there. Zach has got a kebab. What a man. His two favorite things at once. I'm one of them, apparently. That's a high honor because for me, a kebab is like top tier. Not much tops a kebab. So that's borderline flirting. But I appreciate it nonetheless. That is a hell of a combo. And now we're muted. Great start from the boys. That's not a good move by the Eagles nor the Steelers. All right, let's start there. Isaac, I haven't ignored you. We'll get to Devin White soon, all right? I can feel the energy. I can feel the excitement. You're running around like a Duracell bunny. I get it. Let's just breathe. Let's talk Kenny Pickett, okay? So why is everyone pissed off at the Kenny Pickett move? What does it come down to? Is it because he's a bad quarterback? Sure. Newsflash, he's not going to play. And if he does, it'll be for a one-game, a two-game stretch. It's not going to be like he's out there starting 16 games. They haven't just traded a third-round pick on a bum linebacker. Put it this way. If the Eagles had traded that third-round pick for someone like Zach Bown, I'd say that is a gross overpay, and it makes no sense whatsoever. What Howie Roseman has done here is just understand that the price of a backup quarterback is one thing. The price of a capable backup quarterback is something else entirely. Kenny Pickett on this Eagles team now is on the hook for a cap hit over 2 years of a combined around $5 million. Over 2 years, $5 million. So year one, he's going to cost them $1.9 million overall with a base salary of $900K. He's in his rookie deal, okay? What's the issue? We were more than happy to spend $7 million and get a ridiculous gross dead cap hit from Marcus Mariota. But Kenny Pickett, who has a similar skill set to Hurts, isn't the most finesse, isn't the most refined, isn't the most dominant quarterback in the league, but has started games. He was drafted to start games. They get a pick swap that benefits them later on, and they end up with a quarterback that is on the hook for like $2 million next year. For context, all right, just do this exercise with me. Have a look at how much, right, genuinely, a private suite for a Philadelphia Eagles game costs. Okay, I've got one up on my screen now. I'm going to share this with you just so you understand where I'm getting at. A suite, this is for one game in Arlington, is $50K. All right, $50K. So I know not every game's going to be like that. And I know obviously home seats are cheaper. But let's take an 18-game season plus playoffs. Okay, you're looking probably at around $600K. That's literally about a third of Kenny Pickett's contract. People will happily spend that on premium suites to watch the Eagles, but won't like that. You're getting half a Kenny Pickett there. You're getting the Ken in Kenny Pickett for the same price as watching the Eagles all year. Like, this is a ridiculously cheap deal. And as Zach says, they move up 22 spots plus 2 sevens. They didn't just give up the third. So the story goes from that trade, from what I understand at least, is that Kenny Pickett didn't find out about the Russell Wilson trade until social media. That's a quibble. I mean, if you're Kenny, you're fuming on Mike Tomlin might have fumbled a bit there slightly. It's not the best. We've seen it before in the NFL. I'm sure we'll see it again. Jonathan Gannon was the last person to do it, and that also went down like a cup of cold vomit. So Kenny Pickett, quite understandably, hit the roof. He was very angry. Angry man shouts at cloud and was like, I want to trade. Get me out of here. So the Eagles went, all right, well, now he's got no value because he wants out and he's shit. So we'll take him. We'll move up a couple spots in the third. Well, you can have whatever seventh you want, fill your boots, and we'll get a quarterback for $2 million. Like, if the Eagles hadn't just spent around, around $7 million on Devin White, Saquon's on the nose for like 10 plus. You've obviously then got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on a 3-year deal. You've got Bryce Huff that's now earning top tier money. Like, they only had $40 million in cap space. A lot of that has been swallowed up. And we know this Eagles team likes to just have an arsenal of, like, for crying out loud, we cannot be angry at this and also stomach Chase Daniel stealing money for 2 years. We all forget that. Chase Daniel did nothing for 2 years and got like 10 million out of it. Kenny Pickett can do nothing for 2 years and it's going to cost him a bag of Skittles. Like, it doesn't matter. It is a quarterback young enough to still have meat on the bone, to still have developmental upside, and also a quarterback who has experience. He's played games. He hasn't played very well, but he's played games at the NFL level. There's a big difference. And I know as soon as you get to the NFL, it's very different. Like, not many quarterbacks pan out. You look at someone like Desmond Ridder, who's now in the backseat already. Josh Rosen got sent out the door pretty quickly. Mitch Trubisky has been traded, obviously, very recently. Justin Fields could be on the way out. The leash on young quarterbacks isn't big. It's not college where you've got 4 years. You're going up against guys that are viscerally less talented than you. You're playing like top tier guys, week in, week out, the 1% of the 1%. For any young quarterback to hang, let alone do well, takes some doing. So Kenny Pickett, obviously bear in mind, like, you know, when he came into the league, 20th overall, there was some expectation and he hasn't developed as hoped. How much of that is on the Steelers? How much of that, I mean, when you look at the other guys that have come in, I mean, Mason Rudolph has hardly lit the world on fire. Like, who else has done well? Like, Pittsburgh have felt needy enough to go out and trade for Russell Wilson despite having an arsenal of young guys to choose from. None of them have been good enough. Is Russ going to be the guy to take them over the edge? I don't think so. Like, Russell Wilson stolen yet another contract. Going to put out some more social. Look, I love Russ, don't get me wrong. He's a bit cringy at times, but his heart's in the right place. Football isn't anymore. And yet they're willing to spend ridiculous sums on that. The price of a capable backup quarterback is ridiculous. And I'm going to try and find some with you here. So if we go into Spot Trap, I'm just looking at Kenny Pickett's thing now. Can we... Oh, where's it to? Contracts by position. Here we go. All right. Let's just have a look and see average annual value. Okay. Where are we looking at for the bums? Obviously, you got your right. Trey Lance, backup, 20. Okay. Average annual value of 8. Where have we got the base? No, we don't. Okay. So average annual value, Trey Lance, a backup, by the way, is 8 mil. Marcus Mariota, 6. Andy Dalton's 5. Jarrett Stidham, 5. Drew Lock, 5. Justin's all right. Mike White, he might be worth a bit more. Jameis is 4. He's on there twice, apparently. He's getting 8. What a man. Mac Jones. And then you're down to your Case Keenum. Like, what's the alternative? Who would you rather have? Case Keenum and Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley probably going to be back at Baltimore, I'd assume. He's dirt cheap and he has filled in for Lamar Jackson pretty well. Cooper Rush. CJ Beathard. We know what Nick Mullins is. Nick Mullins is getting the same. Nick Mullins is getting the same money, near enough. I'm assuming it's going to be a bit less. Can I share this instead? Yeah. Nick Mullins is getting more. Nick Mullins is getting about 1.5 times the salary that we're getting from Kenny Pickett. So it doesn't bother me at all that they've spent, or I say spent, they've traded a 3rd round pick, moved a bit, given up some 7s, to get a guy that is capable. Easton Stick, obviously. Nate Sudfeld, 1.6. This is who you're looking at in that same bracket. Nate Sudfeld, bum. Had a weird throw motion coming out of college. Looked like he was improving in Philadelphia. Obviously was cock-blocked and went out and did nothing. Brandon Allen, Hendon Hooker, Desi, Blaine Gabbert, Carson Wentz, Davis Mills, Kyle Allen. Who do you want? Take your pick out of them. Take your pick out of them. and you tell me who you want. And as much as we can say that, as Will says, Trey's on his first, in his rookie deal, sure. So's Kenny. So is Kenny. So to me, it just really isn't an issue. Like, it's really not that big a deal because the value is there. We'll go back to it again. Just go through some of these names on a value level. Right, we'll go up. Jacoby Brissett. I mean, he's going to be a starter probably. We're looking at, about here, right? 38th this, your top level backup. 6 mil for Mariota. Would you rather the Eagles pay Mariota 6 mil again or make this move? I know which one I'd rather spend the money elsewhere. Would you rather they pay Andy Dalton 5, Jarrett Stidham 5, Jameis Winston 4, Case Keenum, Mason Rudolph, Tyler Huntley, Mitch Trubisky? None of them are any better, really. None of them are any better. So to me, it just doesn't feel like a big deal. It's overblown because the player is understandably bad. So you look at it through a lens but I would much rather pay next to nothing for a bad player knowing the upside of him getting better is infinite rather than, and it's a bad comparison, so don't shoot me, but the contract Bryce Huff has got for one breakout season as a 26-year-old who is still going to be in a rotational role. Look, it stairs up, elevator down. All right? Stairs up, elevator down. It's always the way. So you're hoping he can sustain it. But there's a mortgage bet on that now. That Bryce Huff can. What's the risk with Kenny Pickett? Oh, no. We've lost 0.3% of our salary cap. Oh, that sucks. It's not a big deal. So I'm fine with the Pickett move. It took some adjusting and some understanding. Obviously, when you see they trade for Kenny Pickett, you're scratching your head a bit. And then you understand the logistics. It's clear that if Hurts goes down, they need someone. Mariota wasn't that guy. And also from a mentality standpoint, Pickett grew up an Eagles fan. That helps, all right? Just from a culture point of view and someone that can actually fit in here and can gel with the guys and understand what it takes to succeed. There's a picture of him somewhere in a Carson Wentz jersey. That's all you need to know. The man had a Carson Wentz jersey. Okay? So you take that bit, and then the fact that he found out on social media that Russell Wilson was replacing him. When he found out he couldn't prove himself, he wanted out of Pittsburgh. So he forced the trade. The Eagles, if anything, gain from it and get a quarterback on the cheap and someone that is going to want to prove himself. And he's not going to win the starting role. He's not going to beat out Jalen Hurts. We're not Delulu here. We understand he's very clearly a fringe backup. He might be good enough to start in a couple years if he can get his shit together. But for now, he's a fringe backup. So for him, in the same way it is with a lot of these guys, how many times have you seen Case Keenum bet on himself and end up in these weird bridge gap starting position battles? He did it with Minnesota. I think he did it in Denver as well. There are guys that Blaine Gabbert is another one. That they're Bethard to a point. Guys that just want an opportunity to show, hey, I can ball. Look at Tyrod Taylor. Okay, the guy's been a franchise guy. He's been a third stringer. But every time he's dealt an opportunity to prove himself and ball out, he earns his next landing spot. And Kenny, who's still on his rookie deal with 2 years left, understands that, hey, do you know what? This might not be forever. If I don't find something, I'm probably going to be out of this league. I can't just collect $10 million. My name's not Chase Daniel. Doesn't work like that. So for him, more than anything, who's he going to learn from in Pittsburgh? Russell Wilson's fell off and just taken his job. It's not healthy for him there. He knows he's capped. He's not going to get the same opportunities. So to move to Philly, have the opportunity to learn under a quarterback that does everything he does 10 times better, and then ball out in preseason, potentially play a game or a fourth quarter or two when Hurts goes down, for him, it's a good move. He comes back home. It's an environment he's comfortable in. Worst case scenario, he's around friends and family. He gets to spend 2 years in Philadelphia, relearning the quarterback position and trying to find that next landing spot. It makes too much sense on too many levels for this to be put in some of the takes I saw on social media. saying like, oh my God, like how has Harry Roseman gone from signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to trading for Kenny Pickett? Like, you don't have to love every move. It's the NFL, okay? GMs are going to do what they want, and they do things their way. All we can do as fans is try and understand. And if you understand, it's a lot easier to accept, okay? You know, it's like if someone punches you in the face for no reason and you get angry at them and try to retort, and then you find out that maybe they've, got anger issues, or maybe they've had a really tough period, or they're coming out of a divorce and they're very drunk. It doesn't make it any better, but you accept it and you understand it a bit more. It just makes it a bit easier to relate. And this is kind of that same thing. It's not the dream scenario. It's not the dream backup QB, but who is? Who really is in that scenario? Like, who would you rather have? And we just listed the players then. Would you rather CJ Beathard, Case Keenum, really Blaine Gabbert, Tyler Huntley? Like which one? Let alone on a deal that cheap, where you also get to move up in leverage on the draft in the third round. So to me, it just is a no-brainer. It was a smart move, one that isn't going to transform the franchise. And I guess the only downside to the past week is that we look at every move now as a move that is going to transform the franchise. Like, there is almost an expectation that Howie hits nothing but grand slams. That's all he does. Like, forget hitting homers, that the guy just hits grand slams every single signing. And when one very clearly value-based signing doesn't hit that criteria, fireballs. It's not needed. It's not needed. So I'm all right with it. And that's where I'm at. I'll get to some of your comments. Tom said he loves the moves to get Pickett. QB is set for the next couple seasons. Exactly. And we forget the only downside is Tanner McKee gets shunned to the back, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But I'm a big Tanner McKee fan. I think he's bloody brilliant. Like, he's not, but I think he is. He's just fun to watch. He loves throwing it deep. He's aggressive. He knows no fear. And I'm hopefully gonna get to have another preseason of just watching him sling the rock around and making some big plays, because he really played with I guess the last Eagles backup or like third stringer to hit that ground running the same way he did was Dane Evans, I want to say. He's obviously now in the CFL, done pretty well for himself out there. It's not been the same for Tanner. He's only in his second year in the league. But that just fearlessness to go into a preseason game and just attack and just ruthlessly, like, not just deliver the ball into the chest, but like plunge it through their heart. Do you know what I mean? And he's got that dog in him, for lack of a better term. And yeah, like I think a couple years again away from that spot, like if Hurts went down on the first week of the season, are you happy with Tanner McKee? Probably not. If Kenny Pickett goes in, your head's in your hands, but there's this level of optimism that's, oh God, please just get it right and just game manage. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Howie's brought in so many people who were at one point fans of the Eagles. Saquon, Reddick, Pickett are a couple good examples. 100%. Yeah, there's definitely a culture thing, and it goes back to why I'm not a huge fan of a guy like Slay on the team. Whereas in comparison, someone like, again, it's a very different conversation, and we might get into it later depending on where this stream goes. But you look at how Chauncey Gardner-Johnson handled the fact that he pissed off a lot of fans by what he said. And not that what he said was particularly wrong or out of line, but it is going to rub people the wrong way when a player that fans spent months pining for to stay and begging to come back, the team didn't want him. And Chauncey kind of took that out, and so he didn't like the people, said they were obnoxious. And on his return, instead of letting that hinder anything, put up a tweet within an hour and was like, hey, do you know what? Sorry. We've got unfinished business. I owe you an apology. Let's get a ring. And if he comes back and wins and succeeds, this city will love him. Like, that energy just isn't there with a guy like Slay. And you look at the rest of the guys these people are building around. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo, all from Georgia. Landon Dickerson, Alabama. Devontae Smith, Alabama. Jalen Hurts was Alabama. Like, you're going after these high-prestige former captains. Milton Williams, related to Fletcher Cox, former team captain. There was one player in that 2022 draft class that wasn't a team captain. And it's not without coincidence. Like, this is for a reason. And it just, as time has gone on, and you look at, it's a great point, you look at the players they're bringing in with links to the city or links to the team or having been fans or understanding what it takes to succeed here, Jason Kelce's retirement speech spoke a million words in about 3 minutes because it resonated exactly what it means. And there are just only a couple players on this team left that just aren't there. And I think Bradbury has the tendency to get paid and then, get laid out. Like, and Slay for me just doesn't do it. Like, I think he's too wrapped up in the wrong things. But I guess that also comes with the cornerback position. Like, again, I've interviewed a fair few football players in my time. Everyone from, Asante Samuel to Jordan Matthews, to guys that started out as undrafted free agents like Jeremy Reeves and ended up being key role players in teams to this day. And even now, the one interview that stands out was Asante Samuel because of it was such a clear ego, and it's needed for that position. So it's not a bad thing. It's just when you're trying to deliver a culture built on the right things, and that's like 3% outside, and it's a bit too individual, and it's a bit too me and a bit less we, it hurts. And I've experienced it as a team manager, I guess, at PSN. Like, and I'm not, no one now. We all love everyone on the team now, right? Everyone here is a little darling, and they're bloody brilliant. You guys obviously all know them. There have been times I've done this for 10 years. There have been times where people clearly only want to boost their own brand and pull away, and it just hits the rest of the team. Like, it's natural. It's the same in any walk of life. I'm sure it's the same in your jobs or careers or social groups. If there's just one person that pulls the other way or is a bit more me, it creates a little bit of friction. And we've segued a lot. We'll get on to Devin White instead, because I don't want to spend every stream we have this offseason talking about Darius Slay, because it's not that deep. It's not that big a deal. It's just something that rubs me up the wrong way. Let's have a look. Pickett's a good middle ground of skill sets between Hurts and McKee. Yeah, I would say it's a bit more of like a stable Tanner McKee, for better or worse. I don't know if that's a compliment or a criticism, but I would definitely agree with that. I feel it's just a bit more stable. It's a bit more... all he did in Pittsburgh was game manage, because he couldn't do anything else. Like he had to manage the game. He had to try and just methodically move his way down the field. So I don't mind it. If only we kept Clayton Thorson. If only we did, William. If only we did. Clayton Thorson. Best off season of my life. One night only, but you can have it for free. Won't even charge you for it. Have it for free on the house. It's a Friday. Angela, nice to see you in the stream. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry I missed your comment earlier when you said hello. He's from your hometown. Went to high school with my daughter. Big Philly fan. Our O-line will protect him much better than the Steelers did. He had 2 concussions and ankle injuries in Pittsburgh. See, I'd have overlooked that bit. I'd have completely overlooked that bit. And that's, guess what I was kind of saying with like how much of his apparently stagnated growth is on him and how much of it is on, Pittsburgh's lack of O-line. Every time Pittsburgh have had a weapon, they've just taken it away. And I guess it sounds really counterintuitive, but the worst thing you can give in one way a struggling quarterback is a running back like Najee Harris, because you're just going to ride them into the ground and you're not giving the quarterback a chance to do much. Like, it's really weird. Obviously, you want to have, like, if your quarterback's struggling, you're getting help, all right? It makes sense. I get it. But if you don't believe in that quarterback, fine. If you do, give him, like, I don't know, don't get rid of Chase Claypool. There's a start. Like, Pat Fryermuth's good, but, like, how much help is there outside of a running back that does all the heavy lifting, and receivers that either get injured or traded within a year, and a tight end that goes, move? Like, okay, you've got one tight end. I guess it's it makes you appreciate how good Patrick Mahomes is, because that's basically what he's had to work with minus Najee Harris. He's just got Travis Kelce, random Randys at wide receiver, and is somehow getting it done. So, apples and oranges. Kylie's in. Hello, boss man. Hello, boss gal. Can we just give really quickly a quick segue as we approach the half an hour mark? Just a massive shout to Kylie and to Matt Watson, okay? So, as we know, this is our 10th year, I think. Maybe 9th. I don't know. I'm going to call it 10 because it sounds better. Of doing PSN, right? In that time, we've been credentialed with the Eagles now, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Union. And the one team that was always a glaring omission from that medal chest was the Philadelphia Phillies. For some reason, we just could never crack the door down. We could never get in. We couldn't find the right people, the right contact. And basically what we were hoping was when I sold the company to Schnett's Media, that like, hey, now we're in Metro Philadelphia, that our presence grows, our reputation grows, and we can beat down some of those doors. And less than 2 years later, spring training this past week, both Kylie and Matt went down to Clearwater in Florida to cover Phillies games as credential media members after like 9 years of trying to knock that door down. So Kylie went down in history as the first ever Phillies contributor to cover a game in person, which is an amazing achievement. So just a round of applause to Kylie and Matt. I mean, Matt deserves a special shout as well because he has been on just a rampant tear to batter that door down. To like, he was at every Phillies charity event. He was at every Phillies like side thing where he could just connect with people. So we did it. And Kylie deserves a big shout for that, and so does Matt. For sure. It's been really cool. And hopefully not the last. Like, fingers crossed. I mean, if only there was someone that could cover the London game. If only there was someone that was in England that was a few hours away that could maybe travel up for it. I'm sure maybe we'd have a unique opportunity. So hopefully it won't be the last time and I can dip my toes into those waters as well. And I'll show Bryce Harper that video of that time I bet on him to hit a home run and eloquently said, big Bryce and his big fuck off bat. So I'm sure he'd love that. I'm sure it'd be great. Bossman, fantasy football doesn't make you a manager, innit? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. True story. Football Manager, the game. Someone got hired from their excellence on the game in a coaching role. In fact, someone got hired near me. There's a team near me called Plymouth Argyle. And he got, I'm not sure what his role was, if it was like an analyst or something. But he got in through playing Football Manager. And they were impressed with his data stuff and his like collection of it. And they got him a job. And now he works for the football team. And they're not like a huge team. They're not Manchester United. They're in the third tier of English football. So, yeah, still pretty cool. See, I just want to shout out this. So, Palatero Pinger, I hope I've pronounced that right, by the way. I'm massively apologise. Is that an AEW? No, it's UFC, I think. That's annoying. If that was an AEW picture, I was about to fanboy for a minute and we were going to have a lovely conversation. But alas, I don't really know who any of those people are, so I apologise. Hassan will get a 2-year deal. Now, I've seen this from, who was it? Was it Philly Castro that put it out? I haven't heard anything. I can't speak on it. And the last thing I would do is discredit someone because I don't know their... This is the thing, right? Like, I've been in that boat. Like, I gave up on breaking stories because no one believed me when they blew up because I'm in England and couldn't possibly have a contact. Not like they're replying to me over the internet sort of thing. So I don't want to dispel that. I would definitely be like happy to see it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that the fact that both Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick are being floated, Bryce Huff comes in, you'd want Reddick over Huff rather than Sweat because Huff is going to thrive in that rotational role and Reddick does far more damage as a lead 3-down edge rusher than Josh Sweat does. And that's no discredit to Josh Sweat. It's just Hassan Reddick is a freak of nature. And when all is said and done, might go down as one of the most underrated pass rushers in NFL history. Because right now he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And like he gets passed off to the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Eagles, potentially somewhere else. Like, what has this man got to do? All he does is put up like 28 sacks a year. So I would rather keep Reddick. If they can make it work and Reddick wants to make it work, I think they will. I don't know the longevity of the deal. It would have to be at least 2 because they've got to restructure how this new salary is. So it would essentially be my assumption, and assuming makes an ass out of you and me, so don't get carried away into this. But my assumption would be they've got to rework 2024 and backload it a bit. So it might be a 1-year new deal, so to get into 2025, but with like 3 or 4 dummy years, maybe an option, maybe a player option at the end of 25. I could see it, but I don't know. I don't genuinely think anything will happen until Sweat moves. Like, they have to be sure, because the last thing they want to do is pay Bryce Huff, pay Hassan Reddick, and be unable to shift Josh Sweat and be stuck with someone that's not happy because he's been pushed out. So he's now like, maybe the effort's different. You view it different. Like, you're going to drop off in production as a result. And someone is obviously going to cost against the cap as well. So they've got to be sure first. And I think that is by far and away the most important thing. And hopefully it gets done. But yeah, I think anyone shitting on Castro for, if it is Castro, I think it is. If it's not, I feel really bad. But and anyone shitting on it just because he hasn't maybe broke stuff before or isn't renowned for breaking stuff, like, it's not the same game it used to be. Like, it's not just Rappaport and Schefter that break things. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that just make things up and do it for clicks. And they will, like, say things for attention or just take very logical hypothesis and put something out. And that's that. But they'll say it in a way that, like, they're always right. So I've heard the Eagles might be signing Hassan Reddick, but they also might not be. So there's that. And then you're just going to go, oh, okay. So if they go, yeah, I knew they weren't going to do that. And if they do, you go, yeah, I told you they were. So there are people like that. I don't think he's one of those. I'm interested to see what happens. I hope he's right, because the guy has been busting his ass. I'd love to, potentially bring him to PSM one day, should his heart ever want to come over. I know it's different when you own your own thing as a content creator to join something like this and I guess lose that not creative control as such, but it's obviously different. So, but yeah, a lot of respect for him, and I don't think he'd put something out there just for the sake of it. I do actually need a drink now. For anyone that was slagging off my lack of water drinking before, you're in for a real treat now. I didn't taste like water then. I realized it was juice and I got really nervous. I don't know. Thought it was like gone off or something. You sent me the picture of Pickett in an Eagles jersey. Let me have a look. But someone just robbed me on Monopoly Go and I'm absolutely livid. Absolutely livid. Here we go. Right, I'm going to show you this on the screen. So there you go. That is Kenny Pickett. You can't see it very well. But he's in a Carson Wentz jersey, man. You can't see it very well, but he's in a Carson Wentz jersey. All right? He's a baller. He knows ball. Thank you for sending that to me, Angela, by the way. Very sweet of you. So when Brian said he got texted something today, or Chris, I actually had something because I knew he had sources. Chris does. Chris is very well connected. There's stuff we've heard over the years that, like, we haven't said, and then other people have put, like, more inflammatory stuff out, I guess. Or, like, from a different angle or lens of the same situation. So, like, we'd heard the same situations, and then something comes out because we don't want it. Like, for us, it's a lot less about clicks. Like, don't get me wrong, it is how we make our money. So we have to, that's what, hey, look, mock drafts are great. Okay. But we're not going to compromise our integrity or our standing or how we're viewed just to be first on something that either might not be correct or could just paint someone in a really negative light when we don't know all the details. And it's difficult when it's conflict based. Like, if you've got like two players aren't getting on, or there's one player that is, I'll use an example. Something like the Carson Wentz saga. It's very delicate, and a lot of players felt very strongly one way or the other. And if you put the wrong thing out, you don't know who's reading it. Like, it's a really weird game. And I was saying this to Brian not long ago. You would be surprised looking at, like, all we see is views, okay? And if you look at something like Facebook or Twitter and you look at the people interacting, you'll very rarely, seldomly see a surname. And you go, that's familiar. I wonder if, and you go on the pictures and you'll see a player, and it turns out it's the player's auntie, sister, brother, dad, that are keeping tabs. And it's how they keep tabs with their, they want to know their family's security is okay and that their relative is doing all right. So you never know. Like, you really never know who's clicking it. So for us, like, we're very protectful of what we hear because we don't want to put stuff out. I hope I can say this, and I don't want to. I think go with it. It's fine. I'm sure it's okay. But we had it on very good authority towards the end of last year that the Eagles were trying to bring back Zach Ertz. And I know it was rumored and it was heavily speculated, but there was like heavy movement on Zach Ertz. And I genuinely can't remember if it was Howie or Nick. It might have been Nick that was just a bit worried about him coming back and the fit being a bit different now because it's a different team and the setting's a bit different and the role's going to be different. He was a little bit apprehensive and they couldn't work out the money and nothing came of it. But that was like, we had day by day almost commentary of where's he signing, who's he spoken to, what stage of the talks at, like how he's feeling about it. And he wanted to come out. He wanted to come to Philadelphia, but it just didn't work out. But we weren't going to put out, oh, the Eagles are red hot on signing Zach Ertz, because not many people knew the like levels that went to. So for us, it'd be disingenuous to try and profit off of that, knowing that if Howie Roseman, for instance, has someone come up to him and say, hey, boss, have you seen this? And it's an article of us saying, yeah, they're working out a contract right now. And he's like, no, we're not. No, now we know we've got leverage because we're working something out and he wants to come back. And this source in this article has said he wants to come back, so we can pay him less. Like, you don't know. That you really don't know. So I know, again, we've gone off on a tangent here, but it's a Friday night, and hopefully it was a little bit of an interesting one anyway. So I appreciate you putting up with it and listening. And as we approach the final 20 minutes, we'll go through a couple more of your comments, and then we'll talk about some Devin White. Before we do, again, like 230 of you watching this right now. We've got 216 on Twitter. If you are watching this and want to hop over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Philly Sports Network, I think. Or just search Philly Sports Network on YouTube. It'll come up. If you just subscribe to that, you get notifications when all of our shows go live. We are going to start making graphics for them because we have we've really worked hard to build an intense schedule now. So off the dome, Monday you've got Trending in the AM, so our daily Philly Sports breakfast show. Then I go live in the evening. Tuesday, breakfast show, Flipping the Birds. Wednesday, Trending in the AM, me. Thursday, Dupe on the Volley and Trending in the AM. Friday, Trending in the AM, me. Saturday, we're hoping Phillies and some Sixers stuff. So like, we've got like a full-on schedule of live content coming. So if you want to just make sure you don't miss one, go on YouTube, hit subscribe, and you won't miss it. Like, that's the only reason for us, really. And if you could leave a like on the video to show your support, that would be outstanding as well. And I appreciate you all just taking your time to watch this evening. Will says, so Reddick is more consistent than Sweat, but I'd rather keep him. After a down year, how many people are clamoring for a 6.5 sack artist? Like, if they could move Sweat and a first for Satan, I'd be all for it. I would be all for it. Like, I think Pat Satan is like the dream scenario, but then you do have to offload one of Slay and Bradbury, and the cap hits aren't pretty. And we can go through them now if you want, just for contextual purposes, because I know Satan has had a lot of love. And rightly so. I wanted him on the Eagles when he came out of college. I've wanted him every year since. The guy is just absolutely phenomenal. One of the best young corners in the game. But at the same time, if we go on Darius Slay's profile right here, and we go to a pre-6-1 trade, minus 22 million in cap savings and 33 mil in cap space. The only way they get around it is if they go on a post-6-1 trade, which would be after the draft, where they only inherit 9 mil of dead cap, 24 of it in 2025, but they actually save 1 mil against the cap in 2024. So, like, potentially there, but you lose 24 mil or 23 mil if you cut him or trade him before then. As for James Bradbury, wherever he may be, I am the Lord of the Dance, said he. There he is. Give me a sec. Yeah, so you're looking at, it's not as vicious. It's not as vicious. A pre-6-1 trade at 11 mil in dead cap space. If you do it after the draft and into June and July, you make a little bit of money, you save $1 mil on the cap, and then it all bites you in the ass next year. So it's hard. Like it's really hard because I would want Satan. I think the Eagles were right after 2022. Oh, sorry, 2023 even. No, 2022, what am I saying? To bring back both Slay and Bradbury. Like, it was only ever assumed they'd bring back one. And at the time, I was get Bradbury, draft a rookie, And in time, the rookie becomes CB1, and then you get another rookie to come in, and he's CB2, and you just build it long term. They brought back both. It was a good decision, I think, sort of. But now they're on the nose for like quite a lot of money. So bringing in a guy like Satan, as sexy and as erection beckoning as it would be, it's just probably not on the cards because they're not going to want to swallow cap hits that big. Like it's just not in Howie Roseman's nature. Like unless they can rework a contract, which is viable, but then to rework a deal just so you can try. For Slay, it would make more sense because he's a bit older. He's probably got one last big payday in the bank. So if Howie goes, look, you can get your bag, you can get another 3-year deal somewhere. There's teams willing to pay it, but you've got to restructure for us so we can move you. And you've got to move this to 2025, and then we'll ship you off, and then you get your new deal. That's possible. Like I think if you see a Darius Slay restructure this offseason, don't be shocked if he's moved within like a couple of weeks or a month, because I think that's probably the most likely scenario that he is. But until then, I can't see a move at corner. Like I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going to replace Maddox in the slot. I think that's going to be pretty much a given at this stage. And if you look anywhere else, like at safety, you could potentially Justin Simmons is still out there. There are some guys in the draft that are very attractive names at this stage. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's have a look. They do need to move someone. They have a logjam at defensive end. They do and they don't. It depends how they structure it. At the minute, you've got Bryce Huff, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Hassan Reddick. Yeah, one of them's going to go. Well, one of them is gone. I would presume it's Josh Sweat. Just off logic, I guess. But I can't see them willingly trading Reddick more than Sweat because Reddick's a game changer. Like he just is. He's a different cat. He's an elite level player. Sweat isn't. Sweat has become a very good player. Don't get me wrong. He is serviceable. He'd be a starter on most NFL defenses, if not all of them. But he's not elite. He's not a top 5 at his position. He's not top 3. You can argue that Reddick is. You can even argue he's one of the most explosive pass rushers in the NFL. So they'd be wise to keep him, I guess is what I'm getting at there. Let's have a look. That doesn't work if you don't develop your young defensive end and he's buried on the depth chart. Yeah, and they are apparently high on Nolan Smith. There was a new report about that apparently like the Eagles are very high on Smith. I didn't see too much to be overly optimistic about, but it's only year 1. And it was a first-round pick and was very good at Georgia. So I'm not concerned. I'm just not overly enthused with, oh my God, this guy's going to break the NFL. Like, I don't get that vibe. Like, if he'd had a year like Bryce Huff had, fair enough. But he didn't. He was bang average in minimal exposure. Like, but we don't see them on the practice field. We don't know what they're doing away from that. So Howie doesn't have a crystal ball, and he can't predict how bad a guy like Bradbury will play the next season. Unfortunately not. I wish he did. But yeah, I think that's kind of why they're probably not going to be in a position to land a guy like Satan. As much as I would love it, I would, if it was me building this team before free agency, and I got a guarantee that CJ GJ would come back, if I could find a way to move on from Slay and Bradbury, give Keely Ringo CB2, and bring in someone like Akello Weatherspoon for 1 year on like a $4 million contract, just absolute peanuts. Draft a rookie, maybe McKinstry, maybe you go there, maybe you go a 2nd or 3rd round guy, and let them learn under Weatherspoon, who, in my opinion, but I loved him coming out of college. Him and Awuzie were 2 of my favorite corners of that class, and they've sustained careers, like, which is more than can be said for some. But I would love to see him in Midnight Green. It's not going to happen, but that's where I would have gone. So yeah, hindsight's 2020. All you can do is the right thing at the time, and I think Howie did do that. Like, he looked at the cornerback position, where we've got 2 veterans who've just taken us to a Super Bowl. They're stable as anything. Bradbury had like an immense year in 2022. Bring them back. And, what happens after that, you can't really be overly responsible for if it feels right at the time, Did Sweat got his contract redone today? Have I missed that? I've been out today. I decided to take a day off. I took an afternoon off because I woke up late. Because this annoys me as well. Totally irrelevant. But the daylight savings thing, okay, so when the clocks move forward, you lose an hour's sleep, don't you? Right? I don't. because America moves first, which means I technically lose an hour's sleep because now I have to wake up an hour earlier for work. So I lose an hour off the hour that's already moved. Then England move back, and I get the hour that I've just lost back again. So I'm basically at a net minus 2 hours for a week until England catches up. So that's fun. I didn't see this. Let me Google this. I've been out today. So, oh wow. I apologize. Well, restructured okay. I'm just reading this now. I promise I'm not ignoring you. I wonder. I wouldn't be surprised then if he's moved after that. So he's been given a restructure. It doesn't add any years to his contract, but it's now worth 10 million guaranteed in 2024. In comparison to, I don't know it doesn't say what he was getting before, which is quite annoying. Sport Track will tell us. I swear, I'm on Sport Track more than I'm any other website on this damn planet, man. Give me a sec. Let's get this up. So I really apologize. That's bad on my part. I didn't know. No one had. Is he extended to? I don't think he's been overly sure. Bear with me. Can we get his loading, please? Here we go. All right. So no. So he hasn't. I don't think he's been, unless this hasn't updated yet. Yeah, this won't have updated yet. See, but that's weird. That is weird. He signed a 3-year, 40 mil deal before. I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. I guess they've just moved a lot into dummy years. But I would not be surprised, genuinely, if the Eagles move on from him. That's my takeaway. Is I think the price was too much. No team's taking the bait. He now gets a reworked deal that's cheaper, and it makes it easier for him to move. And he's gone, yeah, I don't care. If you're going to move me, move me. That would be my takeaway. If you're planning on keeping Reddick, it makes too much sense. Because if you can save 4 mil off Sweat and move him, then yeah, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if he's moved it. Everyone's going to probably look at that and be like, "Oh my god, he's back. They've resolved the contract. He's on the same deal. He's still here for a year, getting the same money." As Isaac said, they just shuffle it about, and it looks like if Sport Track is up to date, it's just dummy years, which is Howie Roseman's bread and butter. So that is interesting, though. I apologize. I spent 20 minutes talking about Josh Sweat's contract, and I genuinely didn't know that. So I apologize for misleading you. I didn't mean to. And I'm glad we found it out together as a little group. So, yeah. See, I can't even have a day off anymore. I can't even take 6 hours out to go and hit some golf balls and have a pint because the Eagles are going to do about 18 different things by the time I get home. So that's fantastic. I'm selfish on everybody. It would be a very deep rotation, but see, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I saw that on, was it Instagram or Facebook? One of the two. So, I don't think the rework contract offers stability. If anything, it just opens things up a bit more. Reddick's a scheme fit. Sweat's not. He's good, but he's not a scheme fit, so he's got to go. The one reason why I didn't want Fangio is because I knew Sweat would be gone. It's fair enough, I guess. It does sort of make sense. I thought Liam was talking about Stretz. No, I had no idea. I had no. So I love how all I've done is look at this and go, yeah, if what the Eagles should do is rework Josh Sweat's contract and trade him, and then everyone's gone, you know they have reworked his deal, right? You know they have done that. So get me in a GM seat, all right? I know what I'm doing. I see the vision, Howard. I see the vision. Get me in there. John says, we need a cornerback. I love most of our moves. We've just gone over this. Apologies if you've joined a bit late, but I'll run it back over just to so you get a base idea. Basically, the Eagles are a bit stuck at corner because they can't move Darius Slay or James Bradbury without swallowing an almighty load of whoa, none of that. Swallowing an almighty cap hit. Like, you're talking 12, I think it's 12 mil for Bradbury and 23 for Slay off the top of my head. So as much as I agree, I completely agree with you that they need an upgrade there. Bradbury's a pain in the ass and Darius Slay's a pain in my head. So I would much rather like cut them both or just get them out or rework something and find anything, literally anything. But I do agree with you. Having said that, Slay, even on his worst, is a good corner. He's just a bit of a dick sometimes. In like the most unself-aware way. Like, he doesn't know he's doing it. So I can't be overly mad. Bradbury, meanwhile, just seems to have a habit of getting paid and falling off a cliff. So not literally. Please don't do that, James. I wish you no ill will. We're still shopping Sweat heavily. No, let me do some digging. I can definitely ask for a recap, I suppose, or an update on situations. But I would assume after the rework deal, Howie will probably... don't worry, Sean. Sean, we're in the same boat, my friend. We're in the same boat. Don't you worry. I had no idea either. So Josh Sweat restructured his deal. He's now on a cheaper contract for this year. I would not be surprised if he's moved. I genuinely wouldn't. It would not shock me if Howie Roseman calls up the teams that were interested and says, look, you didn't want him at, what was it, 14 mil? Would you like him at 10? You didn't want him at 13. Would you like him at 9? Or maybe a team's gone, look, we just can't afford him right now. All right, well, we'll reduce his contract so the upfront hits worse. You rework a deal when he gets there, and we'll call it a 4th round pick. Like, something like that. I think it just wouldn't... Or potentially they do bring back both and they move that extra 4 mil to give Reddick a bit of a boost up front and move the rest over like a prorated 2-3 year deal. Like, it's possible. It is possible. And you've also got to think that BG ain't here next year. So, but then again, Sweat might not be. This is a really weird situation. And there's been so much to talk about. We haven't even touched on Devin White yet. So look, we've got 6 minutes to go. I do have to leave pretty sharpish at 11. 7, 8 your time, 11 my time. But we'll touch on Devin White for a minute. I mean, we could get a second, but I think if he was on a bigger deal, yeah, you've got to think, like, what is a team going to give up for 1 year of a player? And it's never typically that much. Like, the closer the season gets, the more that value diminishes. And, like, I'd say a 3rd rounder would be good. If you get a 3rd rounder and some kickers, not actual kickers, but, like, late round draft picks, I think you can get away with that. It's a really tricky one. It depends on the team and how they value it. But if that team's going to invest a 3rd round pick on an edge rusher, do you see what I'm saying? Like, is someone like, for instance, Chop Robinson, who's a 1st round, potentially very, very early 2nd round. I think he's going out the 1st, but 1st round pick. All right. Is Josh Sweat going to be that valuable? Probably not. If you're looking at a guy that's, all right, well, can we get a speed guy in the 3rd round that can come in and get 4 sacks? Maybe. So I think like a 3rd, 4th rounder would be probably the cost. And given that the Eagles just moved a 3rd rounder today, yes, they gained off it, but it wouldn't shock me there either. I think we will see more of Nolan Smith. I really do. The Eagles, again, are apparently very high on him from what we've seen. Report came out last week stating that. So I don't think Smith's going anywhere. Realistic, in an ideal world, if I was Howie Roseman, I'd build the lines like this. I'd have BG and I'd have Bryce Huff on the same line. And on the 2nd pairing, I'd have Hassan Reddick and I would have Nolan Smith. And then on the 3rd pairing, if we get there and he's back and he doesn't get moved, Josh Sweat and pick your 5th round edge rusher. Like, have an experienced guy with a younger guy on either side. Have a power guy with a speed guy on either side. I think that, to me, feels best. That feels right. Like, rather than, like, going all up front. And then you're not wasting development. Like, you're not giving BG an insane amount of snaps. Like, there's a very healthy rotation to take place there. So, yeah, that's where I guess I'm at. He turned down more money so he could stay. I need to look into this. Like, I do need to know. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he's moved, but if he's taken a pay cut to stay and that was the reason, then fair enough. I mean, look, an embarrassment of riches is a good embarrassment to have. I'd rather be embarrassed of that than having a bogey on my face. All right. If you've got like 5 edge rushers who all realistically could get 10 sacks next year, Reddick's done it. Graham's done it. Sweat could. Has Sweat done it? He didn't have 1 year. I think he did. Or was it like 8.5? I'm pretty sure he had 10. Was it like 2021? Let's have a look. I'm curious now. 2022 we had 11. Oh, that's close. So BG, Sweat, Reddick, Huff have all had 10 plus sack seasons. Like, I think really you've got an embarrassment of riches there that can help. So that's where I'm at. We've got a few minutes to go. Is Taron Jackson still on the team? I believe so. Run BG and Huff either run. They're a little more stout and well-rounded, and Smith and Reddick. See, that's ball knowledge. I like that. I agree with that. Very, very good. The only thing with that is that if it becomes very predictable, that when BG and Huff are out there expecting run plays, I think it's too difficult when so many NFL offenses now are relying on options and motions and RPOs and all the rest of it, where it's very good in theory, and I agree with the theory. But they're going to have to be more subtle with it, I think, because if it just becomes... It's the same way like offensive linemen look for patterns of like when a kick step from a tackle goes one way and the other, it's pass or run. So like there's all sorts of little, hints, and you're just trying to limit those as best you can, I think. We've got a few minutes left. We'll talk about Devin White very, very quickly because, like I said, I am on a bit of a tight schedule. I've got places to go, people to see, sleep to get. But yeah, Devin White, where are we at on it? How are we feeling? Because in my mind, it's a good signing under the premise that we're not getting the same linebacker that we saw in 2021, 2022, whatever. Like, he isn't that same guy. He's fallen off a bit. I don't think he's a great linebacker. Is he an upgrade over Nakobe Dean? Yeah. And if Dean can't stay healthy or struggles again, like, Dean isn't a starting level linebacker just yet. He just isn't. As much as I like Nakobe Dean, I think his upside's great. He's had 2 years in this league and done jack all with it. There's very little to show for it at this point. Half because of injury, half just because he hasn't really developed. So you get in someone... He's better than Shaq Leonard. I think he's a more functional athlete than Nicholas Morrow. I don't think he's a better linebacker, but as an athlete, yeah. And I think really... I genuinely don't care who they get at linebacker. If it's Devin White, if it's Nakobe Dean, they can bring in Susan Boyle for all I care, as long as they land Peyton Wilson in the draft. If they get Peyton Wilson in the second round of the NFL draft, doesn't matter to me at all. Because then you've got the outside backers who can drop back, like Smith and Reddick and, well, I would say Huff, but that's not happened. Zach Bound can definitely do it. We've seen that when we broke down the tape on Monday. And you've got a player in Peyton Wilson that is just an absolute monster and can play everywhere. So as long as Devin White isn't leaned on to be the be-all, end-all solution, I think it will be all right. But I'm not expecting miracles. Like, again, it's another signing where the Eagles just haven't spent. It's like they've gone, look, we did it. There you go. You're happy? It's like when you go to your parents, I really want a PS2. I really want a PlayStation. Can we please get a PlayStation? I need a PlayStation. And they come home with those little electric, like that LCD screen handhelds. Do you remember those that were like $5? A little Tamagotchi things. You get, and you get that, and it will say like Sayplation on it. And you're like, no, that's not what I meant. I wanted a... That's what this is. There you go. There's your Sayplation that you want so bad. There's your linebacker. And that's where I'm at. But again, I'm not overly expecting... miracles. I think there'll be more work done. The position does not start, and it certainly does not end with Devin White. So there's that. I'd like to see what Shaq Leonard has left in the tank. I wouldn't. Sorry to be rude. I wasn't being rude to you. I don't see it. I think there was a couple of flashes last year. But there we go. See, look, ball knowledge. No pro sports comes in, and he does know pro sports because that is ball knowledge. The Peyton Wilson hive is coming around. It's coming around. The draft is pointless with how he moves so far. Our team's already set in stone. Yeah, but at the same time, that's what you want. Like, that is the dream scenario to enter a draft. Like, the last thing you could possibly ever want is going, we need a franchise quarterback and he has to play year one and he has to play well. We need to hit on receiver because we've just traded AJ Brown and now we've got Traylon Burks and he's dreadful. Right? We need a running back. So we go out and get whoever, Bijan Robinson, and our team's awful because we have to mortgage that pick on him. We need a tight end, so we've got Kyle Pitts, and he has to be the guy, and he's not quite the guy. Like, there's no pressure. There is, like we said the other day, the Eagles can roll into week one now and win 10-plus games. They can use this draft, as Will's just said there, to draft the best available. I don't care if it's a corner, it's a kicker, it's an edge rusher, a linebacker, just get players that are going to be key cornerstones for years to come. That's it. So I think it's a great spot to be in, and we can enjoy the draft. There's no, oh, please get a safety, please get a linebacker, please do this. It's like, we're all going to feel it, but it's not that intense, heart-pounding, oh my God, don't balls this up. It's not, oh my God, they've moved back. Oh my God, Kelsey's not been replaced. Oh my God, it's hopeless. He needs to hit this pick. That urgency's not there. It's just, hey, do you know what? Chill. This guy plays linebacker, mate, and he's pretty bloody good at it. We're going to bring him in. So it's a good spot to be. It really is. I like the guy from NC State, but he still needs to grow. Is he better than White or Leonard right now? It's tough to say without seeing him at the NFL level. I would say the upside, 100%. 100%. As he is right now, probably not, just because, again, the pros in college level are so different. He might come in and break out. He might be a home run hitter straight away in the same way that, I hate the only recent example I can think of, but Leighton Vander Esch once was when he first came in. So stranger things have happened, and it happens quite regularly with linebackers, so I wouldn't be mad at it. We do need a tight end, but you can hit on a guy like Dallin Hooker, who's going to be like round 6, round 7, and he's someone that had 700 yards for Colorado State last year. So I'm not, again, overly worried, I guess, about that. Like, there are names earlier on in the draft as well that could also be viable, so I wouldn't panic. What's your opinion on Edgerrin Cooper? Being honest, I've not actually watched a lot of tape on him. I know he's held in a very high regard. From what I've seen, I would say he is a more composed Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Like, he's a bit more well-rounded. To me, Trotter feels extremely aggressive, hits hard, takes insane tackling angles, and has a good football IQ. I think Cooper seems to have a much better understanding of leveraging angles and just moves around the field a bit more fluently. There's no jaggedness and sharp cuts and stopping and losing all that momentum. Like, that's off of like a couple games and highlight reels. It's not enough to give a full evaluation, but that's where I'm at. What's up, Drew? Nice to see you. Alberto's good. We need to use him. I'd like to think he can do something. I certainly do. Like, he's not a lost cause. But seeing Jack Stoll move now, they're going to have to get someone. And Grant Calcaterra ain't it. So whether it's Alberto, whether it's someone else, we shall see. But that does bring us to the end of the stream, guys. Unfortunately, it's the one night, genuinely, I would love to sit here for another hour and just talk ball with you, especially after free agency in the draft. But again, it's got a couple of things it needs to take care of at the minute. And I'll be back on Monday. So again, if you are new to the stream and you're just hanging out with us, welcome. Trying to find my banner. I can't find it anywhere. Someone's deleted my banner. Dickheads. Sorry. No, it's there. It's there. No one's a dickhead. The banner's... Sorry, Brian. I didn't mean that. Yeah, guys, I will see you all on Monday. Thank you so much for hanging out over this week. We have had a ton of content. The website died on Monday. We had streams every day. We've had articles flying out the shop front today, like selling like hotcakes. And we're really excited. Like, this is a really exciting time to be at PSN. Like, it feels like we're finding our groove on YouTube. It feels like we're really picking things up in the right direction. So I can't wait to keep building on it. I'll see you on Monday. All right. Howie, stop it. Have a day off. Have one day where we can just relax is all I ask. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. If you're on Twitter watching this, guys, if you could head over to YouTube, just search Philly Sports Network, or there should be a link on our Twitter if you scroll down a bit. Hit subscribe. You get notified of when we go live next time. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. So I will see you Monday at 6. Thank you so much for hanging out. Enjoy your weekends. Go Birds. I'll see you soon.
You